TorahCafe.com.
Most people, when they think about their mind, their body, and their soul, when they think about their spiritual and mental and emotional development, they may connect that it has to do with food, but when you read it from Kuntras Umayan or Kuntras Ha'avodah by the Rebbe Rashab, that all character traits have to do with the way you eat. So I'm just going to read it here. The lust for eating is the source of all negative character traits. And when we refine this natural trait, we will no longer lust for gross physical things, and then automatically strange thoughts will not come to mind either. So our food and the way we relate to food really affects our thought processes and our emotions. So as a counselor, when people come to me and they have either severe depression or even worse, psychiatric problems, one of the first things we tackle is the way in which the person eats. Sometimes they're eating healthy but too much. Sometimes they're eating wrong foods. Sometimes they're not knowing how to combine the foods. And we're going to go into details of how physiologically and spiritually this impacts us. So, let us begin. Our food intake starts first with our digestion through the enzymes in our mouth. So we need to first be careful that we chew the food properly. So that way, then the food will smoothly and most quickly enter our stomach. But what happens? We don't chew our food so well. The food gets very thick as it's getting down through the throat, and then all of a sudden, it's very slow getting to the stomach. The stomach is still feeling empty, still feeling hungry, and then the person will eat more and eat more because they're hungry. All of a sudden, then the food comes into the stomach and it becomes too much. Kind of like an overstuffed dryer where the clothes cannot move, and so that no air gets to the clothes to dry it. So when the food gets into our stomach and it's too much, that's when we start to feel like, oh my gosh, I ate too much. I need to nap. I can't. That's when our brain starts to get a bit brain fog. Why does that happen? Well, one, because if the enzymes do not reach the food, then the food does not decompose. It doesn't break down. And if it doesn't break down, it stays there and stays there. And then it turns into putrid toxicity. It turns into acid. Mm-hmm. Then that acid then becomes gas. It becomes bloated. And then it becomes uncomfortable. And sometimes even coming up. So what happens when now there's too much food and it's not going anywhere? It ends up staying there. And once it ends up staying there, eventually as toxic acid ends up in your gut, also there it stays there. And the body doesn't know what to do with it. So then it goes to the other parts of the body, and the other parts of the body, we don't need that food here. This is toxic. This is putrid. And so it tries to find different places in the body, and it rejects it. Not the heart, not the liver, kidney. It's too much. So then it turns into fat. Not only that, it then ends up through a pipeline from the gut all the way to the brain, turns into a gassy, toxic substance that goes through your back of your through the vagus on your back, all the way to your mind. And now your mind then becomes brain fog. Now your mind becomes very challenged with this stuff. Now, I'm not here to scare you. I've been to many seminars, both with the work I do with Sparks. How can we help people heal from their emotional problems, from postpartum depression to other more severe situations? And I've been to many health retreats, giving these kinds of seminars and getting the opportunity to learn. I've studied many, many, many books, and there's a book listing on this sheet that you got out last week, and those of you who got it this week. Oh, I see, I'm not in the picture here. Okay, so this information will help you understand why is it that you're feeling the way you feel. Why is it that I cannot as much have emotional stability, or why I react so emotional? Because as we said last week, thoughts create emotions. So if your mind is now not so clear because of how you ate, then the next thing you need to think about is how that's going to create these thoughts and then end up affecting your emotion. Good is good and better is better. So what is it about the food that is so enticing? That's another issue. Kuntrasu Mayan, the Rebbe Rashab, talks about the draw that we have toward these foods. First of all, they have holy sparks. And these holy sparks our body wants. We're attracted to these holy sparks because that's our mission, to elevate these sparks. But what happens is, if a person is bereft of holy sparks from learning, from praying, from their spiritual involvement in the world, then they're missing these sparks. And so they want it, and then they're more attracted to it in food. Now, some people have a very high water element. If you look at Rambam, if you look at chapter 1 of Tanya, the Alter Rebbe actually says some individuals have a very high water element, and that element in them makes them want pleasure. If you look at the scientific approach to this, the explanation is that when you connect to food in this way, your brain chemical of serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, and even endorphins actually get ignited. So when we understand that there's also a chemical component to our process of eating, that this is why it's so exciting. This is why one bite wants another bite. Why? Because at that moment where you actually experience that buzz from eating that food, it dissipates really quickly. And then you want more of that positive feeling. But guess what? Research is also showing that you can get the buzz and these happy chemicals from praying, learning, meditating, socializing, and these kind of behaviors that we can engage in can then help us deal with the loss of excitation and brain chemical from the food. So I give an example to people. Imagine you have in your garden poison ivy, God forbid, and then and also a fruit-bearing tree. But you only have so much water to be able to feed one of them. Well, when we indulge and give in to the temptation of food that's beyond what our body needs, because in that way, when we do, we're like feeding the animal soul. We're giving in to this power given over to the animal soul. Whereas when we refrain, by the way, there are sparks of holiness when you refrain.
Absolutely.
When you refrain, when I remember learning that, I was like, yes! I had many struggles overcoming overindulgence in sugar. Okay, yes, I was a sugar addict. I would know that if I go to this wedding and I see those cakes and I eat it, I'll not be able to sleep. But I would still eat it. I still wouldn't be able to sleep. And then I wouldn't be able to wake up so much on time. And then I would be like, not the same emotionally. I'd be more irritable, more agitated because I didn't get enough sleep. And by the way, when you don't get enough sleep, then you have more cortisol. And it's a stress hormone that ends up kind of clogging your system, kind of shutting and closing off the body so that it holds on to weight longer. So many people will say, well, I've done this and I've done that and I've done that. And I say, well, but if you're stressed out or if you're not getting enough sleep, then your body will hold on to fat because it's like freezing up all of the parts of your body. So we want to be able to make the choice that's going to be feeding our godly soul, that will be feeding and giving strength to our holy self, rather than giving in to this indulgence. As I said, when we see what's going on in the world today, so many people are saying, oh my, that's age 50, age 43. I know even just in my block, in the past year and a half, so many lovely special neshamas.
Right.
There's so many factors. Yeah. And we don't know, everything's in the hands of Hashem. But we can do our part. We're coming up to the Beit HaMikdash, we're during the time of the 3 weeks. We can really think as our body as the Beit HaMikdash. I do children's programs in different places, and I tell them, if you had been near the Beit HaMikdash, would you dump garbage in your there? So your body is your Beit HaMikdash Me'at, and we need to be careful. So what I suggest to people is pay attention. What you're eating, how you're eating. Make a little diary. Is it because that I'm overeating? Is it because I'm not chewing enough and I end up overeating thinking I'm hungry but I'm not? Is it because I'm not combining the food properly? So Baruch Hashem, one time I had one of those attacks. I was in somebody's home and they noticed I was eating fruit after the meal. And they said, you need to read this book, Fit for Life. And I'm like, but I'm healthy. And at the time, I was like more vegetarian even than I am now. And when I read the book, I was like, oh, that's why. I used to have to almost fall to the ground with severe stomach problems, indigestion. And as soon as I just switched, keeping fruit simply in the morning and not eating fruit after, my digestion improved a lot. So I also want to explain that, sometimes there's the food from the outside coming in, but it's also things that are occurring on the inside that affect our outside. Let me explain. So food from the outside coming in, we just heard it could really cause the difficulty of different enzymes to work. So you eat, let's say, a carbohydrate, let's say a fruit, and you mixed it with a protein or something, or like a carbohydrate, and protein also doesn't go well together. So what happens is one part of the mind is triggered to say this particular enzyme is useful for this food group. But at the same time, in your stomach came a different group of foods. And then what happens is the two enzymes are fighting. No, I'm here to digest the food. And the other one's saying, no, I'm here. And then all of a sudden, they're not getting to the food. And again, the food ends up becoming toxic. And again, then the mind problems and the issues of health become a problem. Now, in the Tanya, it actually says that how you think on the inside also affects you on the outside. So the more a person, let's say, does not feel happy, they didn't really ivdu et Hashem b'simcha. As the Rebbe says, it's a service. We need to work. It's a vaida to be happy. So if you haven't developed a greater level of happiness, then that will affect your blood. And then the blood then becomes weak. If you look at in Rabbi Ginsburg's book too, he says that to cure blood problems, work on being more happy, because the happiness actually makes your blood strong and healthy. Anxiety and worry actually becomes an issue with your blood. So many times people call me and they tell me that they think, because they have thyroid problems, they are depressed. I said, which one comes first, the chicken or the egg? I'm not a doctor, I don't know. But if you have blood problems, maybe it's because you can upgrade your simcha. And then you'll be able to help your thyroid be stronger and healthier. So we can work both on the inside as well as on the outside. In Tanya also, the Alter Rebbe actually talks about the fact that when we indulge and we eat not l'shem shamayim, then from the word and the sentence it says, please, please, be wary, don't act like a Babylonian. Babylonian actually comes from the word mebulbal, confused. So when we eat inappropriately, then it affects our mind. It begins to make us a little confused. Heaviness, indecisiveness, and more. One time I was actually reading the Breslov diary, and I was like, oh, I don't feel so bad. Because I've been years trying. As much knowledge, as much books I was learning, it was very hard to actualize the information that I was learning. And the Breslov actually was saying he would fall 7 times a day with taivas. That it was very hard for him. It's not so easy, but it's not impossible. So this idea of the mind knowing something and not being able to implement it is a big factor. And that's why we're here today. Hopefully we'll collect some tools here, and I gave you that pamphlet that will help you, implement it. Because I always say, knowledge is power, but if it stays in your head and it doesn't reach your heart, then it's not so useful. I remember actually someone sitting here that told me the story that their, one of the doctors that were treating their husband, was seeing the lab results after the surgery, saw the actual kidney, and yet still smoked right after the surgery. I mean, this happens all the time. You see people and you see doctors that know information, and they've studied for how many years, and yet you see that they have had a difficulty. So let me explain why, from a Hasidic perspective. This comes from Parshas Bo, of a Sikha of the Rebbe. There's what's called remember the story about killing of the firstborn son of the Mitzrayim, and then there was redeeming the firstborn Jewish child. So the Rebbe actually explains that the firstborn Mitzri is our first intellect, the non-holy intellect, and we need to slay it. We need to get rid of it, and we need to do that by flooding our mind with Torah, with meditation, with prayer, bringing as much kedusha into our mind. But it doesn't stop there. Yes, you will redeem your godly intellect, but the whole journey is not ending there. It needs to reach your heart. And that's why it says that Pharaoh came from Mitzrayim, from the word Mitzarim. That knowledge can get constricted and not be able to pass from the mind until the heart. And it needs to be broken down into pieces. An example I give is you have like this, big boulder of ice, and then you actually try to put it through a straw into a cup. Well, what do you have to do first? You have to break it down into slush. And then slowly but surely, it'll enter the heart. But what happens if you put peanut butter in the straw? Not only will the ice Slurpee not, get in, actually turn frozen. So the peanut butter in this mashal, in this example, is too much indulgence, the Rebbe says. Too much indulgence then numbs the mind, and because it just ends up staying in the mind, and it's mibulbal, because it wasn't able, the information was not able to reach your heart. So I give another example. You go to the mikvah, but then you hold on to a non-kosher animal, let's say a sheretz. So you're trying to become holy, you're trying to become pure, but you're holding on to something that's opposite. So you're trying to learn, you're trying to go to shiurim, you're trying to grow, you're trying to be a better person. But then you're indulging, you're eating not properly, too much. And then it ends up not allowing what you know, what you so were desperate to gain, to enter your heart. We need to get the information to our heart, because that's where we know the sentence, a knowing heart. We need the information in our heart, so we won't be like a doctor that knows the information but somehow can't implement this. So we really need to rectify the pleasure principle of our mouth. Not only in the way we speak, meaning, try to have pure speech, as the saying goes, to have a bris milah. Women also can do a bris milah by being able to circumcise the milah, the words we say, which also has an impact on us. But just as curative as that and more is having the, rectifying the pleasure principle of our mouth and what we eat. Now, I've studied a lot of information about sugar and the impact, and now it's more and more knowledgeable. The information is out there. But I want to maybe explain to you in a little more detail how this affects our overall well-being. So the teaching is as follows. Let's say you eat something, and then very soon after you have something sweet, whether it's fruit, whether it's a cookie, and these don't match, as I said before, especially sugar, because sugar, more than anything, breaks down the walls around the cells and become free radicals. There's lining around the cells, and inside these cells, all of us have, according to the recent research, the machala yedua cells. And when these cells break down, then it becomes free radicals. And then it's a chain-like reaction, breaking down other walls, and then we're more prone to being not well. So I see everyone's faces. I don't want to make everyone depressed here. Please. It's just from many, many years of my own heartache, my own suffering, my own pain of seeing people not be well. And I just felt like, I feel like I have to change my whole career, as it were, because this is across the board on everything that one is trying to accomplish, of having our mind healthy, having energy, having vitality, having joy, and not being weak, and not being susceptible to another virus. I just got over the pneumonia. I just got over the bronchitis. I couldn't believe it in my life how soon I was getting so many challenging, problems. So one of the things that we can focus on also today is the emotional aspect of eating. And that's really hard because we have a long day. We may have had challenges with our loved ones. Our children aren't really where we wanted them or envisioned them to be. The stress, the lack of sometimes social support from the people we do so much for. And we want a little pleasure. We want to feel rewarded for our efforts in different ways. So there is an emotional component. And especially because when the chemical of our brain, the happy chemicals, are getting ignited and it feels good. So one of the ways that one can manage that moment is through practicing outside of those moments of wanting to have a reward or a soothing experience through food. And that is through meditation. And in the pamphlet I gave you, there's 3 different types of meditations that you can do actually in your sitter. So also in the pamphlet it was written out, and in the sticker, so you can put it in your sitter if you happen to have a challenge with food or you want to upgrade and get to a better level of vitality and strength and happiness and health. Then I will tell you to look at the number 5 of that sticker. They're also, Baruch Hashem, I don't know if they're also right now available on Amazon.com. This book, which has these meditations fully in this book, and as well as this other one, Kindness in Marriage. These are my new books that just recently came out. So let's do number 5. So we know that, you know what? No, let's do number 3. I forgot that one first. We know that we go to when the Jewish people would go to the Beit HaMikdash way back, they would bring an offering. And the offering actually was an animal. And the Alter Rebbe actually says that the animal that was chosen represented the type of personality or character trait a person had. That was their weakness. So for instance, if someone had an angry personality, they would bring an ox, a goring ox, saying to Hashem, this is my ox, please help me, eradicate it, consume it, get rid of it, please, I just don't want it anymore. And what would happen would be a huge lion shaped like fire that would come down and consume the animal. So if someone had a lustful personality, they would bring a sheep. If someone had a stubborn personality, they would bring a goat. So now we don't have the Beit HaMikdash, we have the Tefillah. So at this portion of the davening, which is the korbanot portion, a person can think of themselves and say, especially if they have a challenge with eating, they have a lustful, water element, pleasure-seeking type of personality, they would then, in their davening, think of that animal, bring it up to the altar, and you can even actually visualize it. See the big lion, maybe herds of lion, coming down to consume that animal within you. We can turn to Hashem. He can rectify it. He can consume it. He can make it easier for us. No matter what type of personality challenge you have to remember, all evil character traits come from the way we eat. And people would see me, would not think that I had an eating problem. Sure. Because back then I had a way better metabolism. So I could eat a lot and still stay thin. But I was still emotionally, mentally challenged because of the way I ate. So even if you're this skinny, it doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have yet a place to reach a higher level of spirituality, of emotional development, and self-mastery through eating. So that is one meditation you can do. See yourself at the Beit HaMikdash, especially now during these 3 weeks. Stop at that point and you'll be less stressed out. Because I tell people, half the cure of any type of issue that you're trying to overcome, if not more, is not being stressed out about it. Not feeling so bothered and broken because about it. So when you can turn to Hashem and say, this is my problem. This is my animal soul. This is the beginning source of all my character traits. Please help me. Then you can take a step back, relax, and know that God is helping you. That He's going to bring that holy fire and consume your animal soul. So the next one is the angel meditation. That's why I call this eating like an angel. This affects our mind, our body, and our soul. And we should do this with simcha. As the pasuk says, Ezehu sameach bechalko. It also means not only that you're happy with your lot of what God gives you, but you're also happy with your portion. Chelek. This is your chelek. This is the food God gave to you to elevate. If you take more than your portion, then what does happen to that portion? Well, the Tanya teaches us that it turns into klipa. That klipa, which if you think about it, the food turns into your veins, your heart, your liver, your muscles, your blood. And that food was now klipa. So then your body then has this type of energy. Again, not to get you depressed, but to keep you informed. So this meditation comes from Torah, Lukatei Torah, and the Alter Rebbe actually explains that the animal soul actually is not wicked. Most people think, oh, my animal soul, oh, when had Masai, Mashiach already, I can't handle it. How many times I didn't want to nag, how many times I didn't want to raise my voice, how many times I didn't want to indulge. I ended up eating the wrong food, can't sleep, I'm like a zombie the next day. But the animal soul, we are taught in the Zohar, is not wicked. It's actually holier than the godly soul. The animal soul comes from a very high place of holiness called tikkun, tohu. The godly soul comes from the world of tikkun, which is a lower world.
For sure.
So that's why the godly soul comes down into the earth. It had everything up in Shemaim. It didn't need to come down here. But it knew. I'm a rational being. I can only go so far. But the animal soul is a fire. It is a wild one. It is a passionate one. And I'm willing to leave it all from up in Shemaim to come down here, harness, get that power from that animalistic, passionate force so that I can serve Hashem with more passion, with more love, with greater strength of holiness. So when you come to the part of the davening that talks about the angels and how they serve Hashem with purity, with a beautiful melody, with unison. Well, many years ago before studying this, I was not very happy to read this section. It actually bothered me because I would be like, I know I'm not an angel. Why are you reminding me? Why are you putting it in my face that I'm not like an angel? It would make me so annoyed. I remember growing up, and my sister happened to be the more beautiful one. And everywhere I used to go, they would always praise her beauty. And different places. And I would always like, okay, remind me again that she's the beautiful one. So it was like the same thing. Remind me again that they're the beautiful one. So pure, so holy. But when I learned that by the Alter Rebbe that this is a cure, as it were, for the animal soul. Why? When you stop and think about how the angels serve Hashem, ding dong, the animal soul has like a deja vu. It says, these angels seem so familiar, like I know them. Oh, yes, now I remember. I come from where the angels come from. I have yichus. And it activates the animal soul's instinctual, natural drive to be the way it really is, holy. So I give an example. Imagine a boy, 3 years old, on a ship with his father, the king. And pirates come and take the boy away with all the gems. And the father is screaming, my son, and he's like, Tati, Tati. And he ends up being raised as a pirate. And after a while, he forgets. He doesn't remember. He was just like maybe 2-3 years old. And on his way one day, as he's about to pirate a local vendor, the Tsar of the king actually sees him, notices the birthmark. That's the son of the king. Grabs him, doesn't even care, just wants the booty. And the son of the king actually approaches the palace. It's like, wait, this is so familiar. Like the roses here, the garden, like I feel like I've been here. Then it enters the palace and he hears the king say, my son, and all of a sudden he'll have a flashback, a deja vu. He's not a pirate. So the same thing, every day when you pray and you do this meditation, you could do it outside of the these meditations, outside of prayer. Then you ignite the true power and holiness of your animal soul. Again, so then you don't have to work so hard to try to control. Imagine the difference between an animal, let's say, these really crazy, scary animals, and you're like trying to, chain it and force it to come with you. But imagine just showing a doggy bone, a big steak. So the animal on its own will follow your ways. Mm-hmm. That's why it says in the Shema, B'chol levavcha, with both your hearts. Meaning, otherwise it would say, B'chol levcha, that your one heart will love Hashem. No, we're down on this earth because the one heart already loved Hashem up in Shemaim. We're down on this world to capture the heart of the animal soul. So 2 hearts together will serve Hashem and be joyful and happy and have this self-mastery. As the Tanya says, V'lo tatur acharei levavchem, acharei enechem, from the Shema. Hashem gives us a command not to go after our heart's desire. I see the cake, I see the extra portion, but I'm going to resist because Hashem commanded me not to go after my heart's desire, which then affects your emotions and your happy feelings and your ability to have more self-mastery takes place. So that is another meditation that you could do. Think about how the angels serve Hashem, and then you'll see that it's not such hard work. You'll see change. I'm telling you, this information didn't come to me till I was about 36 or so. And even a little bit older, because it just came into my lap by miracle, thank God. And my husband was like telling me, you're a psychologist. This is so you. Like, you need to learn Tanya. You need to learn Chassidus. It's a psychology of how to change, how to have self-mastery, how to help people whose minds are weak. And it was true. Because once I started applying these hora'as, these instructions from the Tanya, I realized the key to the redemption, to the personal redemption. And then I started changing and having more self-mastery. And then I started using it with my clients. I totally switched a lot of what I was doing with my clients. And then I started seeing them change. And this is what I was giving them. These meditations. Generally speaking, we know that meditation has a great impact on our brain because the brain can be outwitted. The brain does not know the difference between past, present, and future. So if you visualize yourself, let's say at the Beit HaMikdash, you visualize yourself with that animal and Hashem consuming the animal. You stop and then visualize yourself now that God took a portion of it away today. How would I behave? And then you visualize the more perfect you, the more calm, loving, happy, go lucky you. So your brain now is getting in the habit of seeing yourself behave a certain way, and it doesn't really know the difference between past, present, and future. Remember last week we were talking about neural pruning. The brain, by God's design, thank God, helps the brain to store information. So if you touch a burning oven, your brain stores it. Open oven, hot, ouch. So it stores it. But what happens is so many experiences get stored and stored and stored, and then we have just too much in our mind. And so it's like 700 freeways going on, and so the brain can't cope with new information. It just can't. So meditation helps all the freeways close because you're relaxing all your physical bodily components. So then your mind starts to be more relaxed, and now it's able to receive the information better. Kind of like, the phone is ringing, the buzzer of the oven, someone's at the door, and the baby's screaming. You are not able to handle so much stimuli. Well, but in today's day and age, texting, WhatsApping, there's so much stimuli. And what do you have to do today? And the husband may be asking you this, or the child crying, and the brain is just on overload. So meditation helps the brain calm down. Meditation helps you break the component parts into pieces of the knowledge so that it can reach smoothly into your heart, especially if you're careful not to eat improperly.
That's the whole thing.
Yep.
Food is a killer.
Food. Yes, if we can leave questions to the end, thank you. So, another meditation, which is another key ingredient from the Zohar, how to change your animal soul, is the Shema. Focusing on the last word of the first sentence. Oh, I have to tell you a story about Shema after this. Okay, please remember, it is gewaltig. I wasn't planning on saying it, but it's so special. Since I learned this, I keep saying, Shema is Yisrael. We'll get into that. But back to what I had in mind. Echad. Stop and meditate on the oneness of Hashem. Now, just like you know that you prolong the dalet of the last word of Echad, so you'll have long life, right? You know that, some of you? So we want to prolong our meditation on the oneness of Hashem. Not only will we get long life, that's a bracha, but we'll also get the godly soul's power elongated, as it were. Let me explain. Here is the animal soul, and here is the godly soul. Now, our whole mission in life is to remove the negativity of thought, speech, and actions, the garments of the animal soul, the negative character traits. But what happens? We indulge, we eat, and so are we not getting to the deepest essence of our godly and animal soul? No, it gets sometimes more and more buried. So when you meditate and think about it and have a hisbonenus on the oneness of Hashem, then the animal soul's negativity starts to melt away. And so then your godly soul has the power to come out of its captivity. And then the powers of the godly essence of the animal soul also now is redeemed from captivity. Now, hear me out here. Why when we say the Shema, does this happen? Because every creature, including the negative aspects of the animal soul, it's a creature also. And every creature has an instinct to survive. Have you ever seen a cockroach turned over? Sorry for the example. But it kicks and kicks and kicks and kicks till the end. Now, I ask myself all the time, if I was a cockroach, would I want to live? No. But yet it wants to live. It's till the last kick.
Oh, God. Yeah.
It's an instinct of survival. So too the animal soul has an instinct to survive. When you remind it, there's only one God. You want a good life. You want to be healthy. You want a good job. You want this. Yeah? Well, come on. Think about the one God. You're going to get it from God. So then the instinct of the animal soul then ends up awakened. Oh yeah? Oh yeah. Woo-hoo. Yeah! I'm gonna follow Hashem. No more anger. Woo! I'm gonna leave my sadness, my anxiety behind. I want the good stuff. Have you ever seen a baby and it wants that lollipop? And you go, shh. And most often that baby may stop crying. Hopefully a healthy lollipop. Okay. So, that's what happens when we meditate on the oneness of Hashem. The animal soul begins to be ignited. It's instinct. And so again, you don't have to tie that animal soul up. Drag it with you and force it to be good. It will come on its own term. It'll run. And so then a person doesn't have to fight so hard. And then the person will see more real change. So that's another meditation one can do. And if it's particular to your issue, think about that issue. Especially if, as we just learned, that all these, let's say, character traits that we want to improve on, this is the way to go. I'm telling you, you'll save yourself a lot of money from all the therapies that are out there.
That's right.
Because the Alter Rebbe says in Lukatei Torah, you may be able to, he doesn't say the 12th step. The 12th step happens to be really good, Baruch Hashem. But you may be able to cure yourself, seemingly, from one character flaw. But then all of a sudden, since you didn't cure it from the source of your soul, then something else will come up. There was one woman who, after I gave this class, she says, and I didn't mention this, and she says, well, but I conquered my overeating through this, and this. And I saw she did, because she was a lot of pounds before, and she was very slim. So then I told her this concept, and she goes, oh my gosh, now I understand. I become a shopaholic. I go everywhere and I want clothes and I want to buy this and I want to buy that and I want to buy this and I want to buy that. And I'm going to this program to control that. And I'm like, You need to conquer it from the source of your soul. Because if you don't, then some other water element, pleasure-seeking type of issue will come up. Anyway, I was thinking that maybe we should do one of these meditations, even though it's written on the paper I gave you, but anybody interested in trying it out now?
Sure. That was my question.
Yes, okay. So, listed also on the paper is 3 different types of meditations that I like to do regarding food. One of them is being in front of the king's palace, sitting near the king, and not taking the king's portion. Like, you wouldn't do that, right? Like, everybody's watching you. It's on Twitter and Facebook and everything. Check, everyone taking pictures. These days, like, you have to be careful. You never know where you're going to end up. But literally, Hashem is facing you when you're eating. And he doesn't need Facebook. Anyway, Another very useful technique in meditation is pairing. It's a term that is used that means what it says, to pair undesirable behavior with something negative. So for instance, one of the meditations I do is I see myself walking down a path, and I see it first, there's such glitter and all kinds of sweet, sheepy, non-nutritional food. I'm walking toward it, almost like a magnet. And all of a sudden, I'm about to touch the food, but before I even get near to taking it in my hand, it all turns into, okay, sorry, but like snakes or worms or something smoky, ugly, blackness, and your brain pairs the temptation. So if you do it enough times, the next time you see that food, you will be repulsed by it. They do it with smoking, they do it with a lot of different ways. Another, I think, better one, that's more positive, is seeing the dark road, seeing all the darkness, but then seeing the light, seeing an orchard, seeing all the healthy vegetables, seeing yourself drawn to the light, see yourself partaking, saying the bracha, of course, eating your portion, and then seeing yourself strong, happy, energetic, ready to do the task at hand of the day with such vitality and with such a clarity. So these are just some meditations you can do. So it's a bit of a long story, but it's so powerful, because you can think about this when you're saying Shema. Shema is Yisrael. We know that Shema Yisrael, there's this concept of Yaakov and his serving Hashem, and then there's Yisrael serving Hashem, reaching a higher level. So in the Shema, when it says Shema Yisrael, it's trying to remind you that you want to reach a higher level than even Yaakov. Yaakov is like the heel, Yud Ekev. Yisrael is Rosh Li. Like I want to really have mindfulness in the way I eat or in the way I act. So the idea came from a story that the Frierdiker Rebbe writes in his memoirs, that when he was just 11 years old, he met up with a chassid, and the chassid tells him of his experience of Yechidus with his grandfather. And he says that I went into Yechidus, and I in my little petek there, I wrote that I travel a lot, and I don't get to, be so learned and prolong my davening because of my traveling. So the Frierdiker Rebbe's grandfather answered him that he is lucky that because he travels, and back then in a wagon you could see the heavens above, and he said Shema is an acronym for Su'u Merom Enechem. Turn your head upwards to the heavens above. And that's why in many shuls there's a lot of windows, because looking up at the sky helps you meditate and contemplate on Hashem. So this chassid said it with such fervor, and it was like, this was so many years ago. My grandfather told him this, and he's acting as if he's hearing it now. So then the Frierdiker Rebbe says he met up with him when he was 92 years old. And again, he told the same story, that Hashem blessed him because his chavrusa actually explained to him, because when he was in the meeting, he didn't know that what the Frierdiker Rebbe's grandfather was saying, that Shema is Yisrael. So, because if you meditate and contemplate, you will reach the level of Yisrael. So he says now at 92, again as if he just had the Yechidus, and then he said, my dear prayer to Hashem is that when when the time comes for my soul to depart, that I will be able to say Shema with clarity of mind, that I'll be able to focus on Hashem, even in my old age. So I pray that after this class, that we should have many years of health, many years of clarity of mind, so that when we are 108 or 120 and more, ad bli dai brachas of clarity of mind, with strength and health and vitality.
Amen.
I hope the words coming from my heart entered your heart, because this has saved me so much agony. I just want to go over some tips, and then we'll go to the meditation. So if you look at the paper, and whoever did not get at the end of the class, I will give it to you. I just want to remind you that sometimes when you feel hungry, it's because you're not hydrated. Because the symptoms of thirst is the same as hunger.
Absolutely.
So first drink, and you'll see, oh, I'm not hungry.
That's right.
And even if it doesn't help you so fast, it's good to drink before you eat. It's not good to drink during the food, and it's not good to drink after. So, 10 or 15 minutes before your meal, it's good to drink. The other thing is that we want to be able to eat light foods first. Now let me explain that my father-in-law is, and I guess was, recently, in the last year when he was at his deathbed, unfortunately, I was by his side, and he was telling me that in his more than 60 years of practice, he wrote a book also, that he found that the 3 critical factors in this order will keep you healthy. 1 was the amount of food was the most critical. These are the people that had less diseases. 2, exercise, and 3, what you ate. This is exactly what the Rambam teaches. Look it up. It says in the same order. Most important is not to overeat. We said not combining improperly. And another key ingredient is having happy feelings of success while trying to improve anything in your life. There was a study, and there was a group of people that were asked to go into a room with chocolate cake. No instruction. A second group were told to go in the room, and they said, think about the last time you indulged and when you failed and you didn't succeed. Third group was told the opposite. Think of the last time you succeeded, and think about how good you felt when you did overcome the temptation. Guess who ate the most chocolate cake? The ones that were instructed to think of the last time they failed. So we got to keep upbeat. We have to be happy, because happiness opens up our system. Happiness lets the food digest more properly. Constriction comes from stress and negativity of the heart. And remember, after you eat, wait 10 minutes. 80% of your food should be vegetables, especially after the age of 40. Maybe before 40, then 70%, 60%. And about 40 or 50 grams, just the amount of the size of your palm. Not the huge steak. I go to these restaurants and I see like these big steaks. I think it's the whole family, but the one person is eating it. I'm not judging, but I say in my heart, I wish they would go on this class and realize that that's just way too much, because it's just too much acid in the body. And get enough sleep too. That is a key ingredient. All right, so let's do a meditation. So we can close our eyes if you want. It sometimes helps to be more able to relax and to focus. And we're going to do some sphincter muscle exercises to help the body become even more relaxed. For instance, you can take your hand and make a fist, and see as you're opening the fist, slowly, that the stress is leaving you in that part of the body. You can do that again and count to 3. And just let go slowly and actually feel the difference of the hand that was full of stress and now it's releasing. You could do the same on the bottom of your feet, curling your toes tightly, and on a count of 3, letting it go. And feel the difference, feel the stress leave you. And you can do that again, one more time. And let it go. You can focus on your stomach muscles, tighten them all up. And then, in a count of 3, you could let it go and relax. Again, in the same area. And let go and relax. And now you can focus on your breath. Take a deep breath, and with every breath you take, you just feel a wave of relaxation. As if this is an energy that's going to start entering from the bottom of your feet and moving its way upward. This breath of healing, this breath is full of oxygen, helping you declutter from strength, from all the stress, helping you create new oxygen in your brain to help you focus. So this wave of relaxation, as you inhale, is bringing in all positivity, and as you exhale, you release all the stress and the tension as this wave of beautiful healing energy is entering and moving up now from your toes all the way to your knees, moving upward to your thighs, reaching now all the organs of your body, just really helping every part, your liver, your kidney, your intestines, just feel this most calming energy, letting each part of your organs relax. Reaching up to your heart now, massaging every part of your whole being. Feeling now that your heart is beating calmly, you're more relaxed. It's going now to your spine, moving its way upward. A wave of relaxation, moving towards your neck and your shoulders and your upper back, moving its way to your hands, making a U-turn, and again, very cleansing, healing energy moving upward, back to your neck, and now entering your facial muscles, your forehead, your cheeks, your lips, every part of the area around your eyes. It's just very relaxing. Continue to take deep breaths, and now it's entering your mind. And oxygen is reaching your brain, decluttering from old, stagnant thoughts, removing the toxicity of so many stressful thoughts, just leaving you. Literally feel the cortex lining and all the parts of your body, the neurotransmitters, the neurons, just relaxing. So much so that you begin to feel light, and you can really envision now a beautiful cloud taking you on a journey. You see yourself approaching the king's palace from a distance. You want to make sure that every part of you is ready for the experience. You have been gifted with a card that seats you at the king's table. You're dressed beautifully. Your mannerisms are full of dignity. You're elegant. You're Bas Hamelech, the daughter of the king. And you are sitting at his table. And you see your portion, and you're so thankful. You're not into the food. You're into being in front of the king, and the honor you feel that you're privileged to have such a royal position, sitting by the king as the daughter of the king. And you eat after saying the bracha, and you realize it's your own wedding. You want to be able to dance, you want to be able to be full of livelihood. And then you see the portion that's not yours. But you remind yourself, I'm at the king's table. I am a daughter of the king. I want to serve him with strength. I want to serve him with dignity, with happiness. I want all my family members to see me alive, vibrant, healthy, ad 120 and more. So you don't even go there. You leave the table after benching, and you feel light, and you feel happy, and you literally are able to dance now. You're able to socialize, you're able to be vibrant, and really enjoy the wedding. Take a moment as you see this vision. Enjoy it. Practice this vision again and again. Take the opportunity right now to sign a contract with your mouth. You have two borders. The same way you are more careful about what you say because of your teeth in your mouth reminding you about the border, make a contract with your mouth. My mind and my heart will rule over you, not you over me. Let's be partners to be healthy and strong. Let us not be spiritually numb. Let's not connect, but only through what we need to eat with the portion that God has given to me so graciously to keep me healthy and strong. Focus on your hands, the hands that will not reach out for more than what the body needs. Have an inner dialogue with your hand. Get the sparks of holiness not from food. Give more tzedakah. Give a helping hand. Visit an old age home. Help lift them. Let's get the sparks from our prayers, from our meditations, from our learning, from our acts of kindness. Let's get the happy chemicals from socializing, from going to a shiur and any other holy endeavor. And feel your feet. The feet ready to go forward and make a difference in your life now. It's never too late to start upgrading the way you treat your own Beit HaMikdash Ma'at within you. And then say a little prayer, Hashem. Please, please, as the Alter Rebbe says, beg Hashem for His sake, that He will empower you to ingrain this meditation again and again so that you will actualize and have success in reaching new heights. And as you begin to connect with your eyes, the eyes that will be attracted to holy, good deeds, the eyes that are going to see the truth about food, the truth about what will make you vibrant, alive, happy, mind, body, and soul. And when you open your eyes, feel that this has really impacted you for the better. Thank you for being here. Facebook Live.
Thank you so
I thank Hashem for this opportunity, and I pray we'll hear less and less news about people not feeling well, and more refined, dignified behavior from just being careful about how we eat and approach food as an avodah, as a service of Hashem. Thank you.